All right, there's quite a few in here, so I'm going to begin. So welcome to our weekly Getting Started with Site App Pro webinar. I am Rochelle, and I'm going to be running you through our session today. Super exciting. It's going to be mainly for everyone who is kind of new to us, but also for those of you who are feeling a little bit kind of rusty, might need to go over some things and jump back into the system and just see kind of what we're all about in regards to that main setup in the beginning. So without further ado, just to run you through a few things that we're doing today, we are going to be doing a live demo of an account. So we'll be jumping in and just seeing those kinds of steps that we're going to take to set up your account. Just bear in mind, there obviously are kind of different pack sizes. So some of the things you see today might not be available in your account, but if you do want to kind of get those amongst your account, then definitely let us know and we can kind of have that discussion. After the demo, I will be running into a bit of a Q&A session with you guys. There is a Q&A button that you can click at the very bottom of your Zoom. So jump into that and have your questions ready to go for when we jump into that session and I can, answer away. Awesome. All right, without further ado, let's do it. So first off, I'm going to jump into a Site App Pro account. As you can see to the left, we have got our admin console, which is that kind of web computer version. And to the right, I've just got the mobile version. So that's just where your team's mainly going to be living. They're going to go in there and complete the forms and have their daily flow happen through there. The left-hand side is the dashboard that we can see. So this is generally your bird's eye view of all of the account kind of data that we're capturing. It's a really great way for you to jump in if you're on the go and you need to just quickly get onto your laptop, kind of see what's happening in a day. You can see some form completion to the right with your activity stream. Also to the left, you've got some stats on kind of engagement, different graphs that give you form completion, any expiry dates. This is like the expiry section, I like to call it. So we can see anything that's overdue in red and anything that's in white is going to kind of be coming up overdue soon. Then scrolling down, we've got some more completion rates based on your staff members. So we can see those star players who are really getting amongst the app. And then we can also see the completed form types as well. Moving down, we've got some corrective actions. So this is those tasks that the team can make for each other or for you, or even you could make for your team. I'll explain that in a little bit more detail when we jump into the app. Lastly, you have got a tile that has got the site map as well. And again, this is where some of these tiles will be visible depending on your pack size as well. So just keeping that in mind. This is editable or filterable as well. So we can find this by date range if you want to just look at today or maybe this week's stats. Then we can go and take it down by sites, projects, or jobs as well. So maybe I want to look at just one site, for example. I'm going to go and hone in on that, see what's happening there for the day. Cool. So that's your dashboard and the general idea of that. Let's jump into your forms now first, because this is our kind of initial setup we want to focus on. So I'm just going to quickly explain the three kind of ways that our forms can show up. There is your scheduled form, your unscheduled form, and then also your pinned form. So scheduled forms are more of those kind of rotational, daily, weekly, or monthly forms we want to see come up for the team. I've got them set here. You can see I've got some daily ones and some monthly ones. And in the app, it's going to show up in your to-do list. So I'll jump into here. And you can see today's task and this month's task because I've got those two set. If I do have something set for weekly too, it'll show up under weekly. For example, this toolbox, I might want to change to a weekly basis instead of daily. So what I'm going to do is jump into the edit button to the right of that form. It's going to open up my form settings and the kind of back end of this form and its design and all its settings. So we're going to go through to this form schedule section. And I just want to change it to weekly instead. Now that will show up and flow through to my app. If I go over here and refresh it. And in my to-do list, you'll be able to see I'll have today's tasks, the weekly ones, and this month's as well. That one didn't quite refresh through, but that's all right. Cool. So this one here, now we've got that set to weekly. We can click save on that one. That'll be why I didn't save it, standard. So what we can do is have those settings there for those rotational forms. Now, if we've got our unscheduled forms, these are more as and when required forms. We go to them kind of when something goes wrong or if we just need to just fill out a one-off form. So things like your near misses, maybe kind of an incident form or just even a vehicle check form or something like that. we're going to find as an ad hoc or unscheduled form. So those ones over here, when we jump into our settings for them, they're just going to have no schedule set to them, and they'll just have this ad hoc toggle turned on. Now, say we need to find that in the app now. I'm going to go over to my app and find down the bottom right, ad hoc forms, and that's going to show you that list of all of those forms available. If I do know that I need to find some specific ones, then what we can do is kind of put them in as a favorite. So just using this little heart to the right, clicking on that, it'll pop it up into my favorites bar. And that's just kind of how I can make it more regular for me to find. Awesome. Cool. So from there, we've got our scheduled and our unscheduled all sorted. We know how to set them up. We may want to make this list a little bit cleaner, especially in that kind of ad hoc form list. The team might not need every single one that we give you as a default in the account. So what you can do is kind of just go through this list and turn off some that you may not necessarily need, or just kind of put them away until you do need them. So for example, I might not need asbestos if my company doesn't work with asbestos. So I'm going to go into the edit button here. I'm going to make sure that the schedule is set to none, so it's not showing up in that kind of rotational basis on the to-do list. And then also we just want to make sure that it is turned off of ad hoc, so it's not coming up in that other list as well. When I save that off, it's now going to remove it from my list on the admin console as well, but it is still available. So don't stress, we've still got it there if we need it. And I can just click on show unused forms. It'll bring out anything I've kind of turned off. And then what I can do is just go back into that pencil button, either put it back to a schedule or put it back onto that ad hoc form library as well. Save that when you have its correct setting, and then I can just turn off my show unused when I don't want to look at them and keep it clean. Cool. Now, in regards to your forms, you might have some extra forms that you want to build into the system from blank, or you might even want to just start with our templates and kind of edit them and customize them to suit your company better. So what we can do with that is I'll jump into my toolbox as an example. Moving past the settings, we can move down here where we've got the form design. Now, this is that back end of the form. So it's where we can kind of create the answer types and the questions we're going to be asking the team that'll flow through into the app for them to answer. So jumping into any of the questions that we've got in our template, you can kind of go in here, delete the wording. If you've got different lingo that your team maybe is more familiar with, we might want to change that wording to help them out a little bit. Additionally, we have 35 different answer types that you can jump into and explore. So here we can capture just a checkbox to make it really simple for the team, or if we want to get a bit more information and have them describe it, we can use kind of short answers, multi-line text ones as well. There are some really cool things you can do here, like pulling through resources, finding your equipment list drop down, even adding staff in as well. So have a bit of an explore of this option here. There are definitely a few things you can achieve with it. Cool. Now, there are a few other things as well, like maybe being able to delete if you don't like a question that we've got. The required field section here is more important if you really need the team to fill that out and then have certain required fields for that form to save in its entirety. You can also drag and drop the order if you think that things need to change a little bit. And then if you want to add anything custom, you can go into this little box to the right. Sometimes it does show up at the bottom as well, depending on kind of how zoomed in your screen may be. But you can add a question in or even headers and kind of instruction text as well. We will be having some webinars that will dive a bit deeper into kind of form building and mastering that. So I won't go into too much more detail now. We obviously just need that basic setup for now, but then yeah, you can jump into those resources if you need to. Cool. I'll save that one off so we're all good with that. Awesome. Now, another thing with your forms as well, we can filter them down and keep this really simple for the team if you do want to kind of have certain people see certain forms. So we have a feature called user groups. This is available to some packs and other packs. If you really want this, let us know if it's not available for you and we can kind of have that discussion about making it available for you. But it is a setting that we put into My Business over here. And we go into our settings. We will just kind of create different user groups. I've set 3 nice little ones up that are kind of just generalized. So we've got a site foreman group, just an admin one, and then also your equipment management. So for example, site foreman might be doing that toolbox on a regular basis and no one else has to really worry about that form. So we only want it to show in the site foreman's to-do list. So I've created this group here, just adding a new one and then pressing enter. Then I need to make sure that my team and users are assigned to the correct group. So I might say, okay, Bailey is my site foreman. So I'll go into edit, jump into the user groups, and we've made sure that site foreman is selected for Bailey. Make sure we save that. So now that Bailey is assigned, we need to also make sure that the form is assigned. So I jump into forms, I'll search up my toolbox, edit that. And then we just need to make sure that in this section here of the settings, where it says user groups that need to complete this form, we've got site foreman selected as well. This will allow us to only put it into Bailey's to-do list or anyone else who's selected for that user group as well. A really nice way to just kind of clean up the list for the team so they have to go into the app and just see what they need. It's really simple. Cool. That is the general idea of your forms. So have a jump into this tab and kind of have a play around, edit those forms a bit, set them to schedules or just keep them ad hoc, and yeah, go for your life. Cool. Next up, we're going to jump into sites. I have got here projects or jobs as well, because we can change this name. So depending on how you kind of run your system or your processes, change that name accordingly. It is just in my business to edit that in the settings. Cool. This is your list now of all of those different locations, sites, or jobs you're going to be doing. So we can name it in a few different ways. You can kind of name it by street name, job number, some people do, but up to you how you go with that. It's also nice to kind of categorize it by client sometimes if you want to do that, so we can group them all together and see them in a certain way. But what we can do is adding them in from the orange plus button. It's our general rule. We want to go and add them either individually or as a bulk kind of list. Assumably in the beginning, you're going to have a list of kind of a few jobs you want to start off with. So bulk upload's really handy for that. We just click onto this. It gives us a CSV kind of file that is going to be able to input all that information into the right columns, and it'll slot nicely into the system. Cool. Once they're in with the list, we can go and edit these sites as well. So I'm going to jump into that pencil button as per usual, and we're going to go and kind of change those details. We can add any information you need, but the most important ones is obviously the name and then this address as well. The address activates our geolocation feature so that when the team jumps into the app and they choose which job, project, or site they're going to, the closest one to them will pop up to the very top. Really nice, easy use for the team then. Cool. So that is the general details. Moving across, we have got things like the hazard board. This is available for those team pack and up users. What we're going to do here is kind of your site-wide register of your risks. So we can add them in. We've got a few. Well, you generally have one that will start off there for you to kind of jump into and edit, but we just go add new, and you can kind of go through the system of this kind of template and add in each hazard and do that risk matrix around it. Once they're added in, they will add to this list as such. And we just want to make sure that they're live. So the status means that it can kind of come through to the team. There is live until, or not live. So it shows for the team, but there is also a draft option as well. The draft option is there so that it is kind of just hidden on the admin console for you to play around with, and then the team can't quite see it yet. So making sure that status is live until, or not live is important. Cool. So once that's all added, you can also export it out by kind of getting a little report on it. It's really good if you've got like a whole risk register that you might need to send out to a client or someone to be audited. We can just print it or email it if we need to do that. Perfect. Moving across, we have got our pinned forms. So this is that third option of forms that I was explaining to you earlier. We have got your kind of live living form in this stage here. So it's kind of generally a risk assessment or something we want to kind of build onto over time. So it generally starts at the beginning of a job or project, and then the team just jumps into it. They can see the stuff from days prior, and they can keep adding to it over time. So yeah, a JSA or even a SWIMS or something like that is really good to put here. So it's something available and site specific that we can all kind of collaborate on and add to. Cool. To add this, all we need to do is click on the pick button, and this is going to give you that list of all of those forms available to you. Just type in what form you want to input, and then we can attach it to the site. Cool. As you can see, I've added a few, and in the app over to the right, you can see at the very bottom of my to-do list, those 4 forms are kind of pinned there. So I can jump into those, and all my team can as well. Cool. Across from the right here, we have got a few other tabs. I'll just touch into them briefly. So the safety agreement is one that you can kind of add some client information into. A lot of people kind of break their SSSP down for our New Zealand clients into this bit. But yeah, up to you. Have a little bit of an explore of it. See if it's useful for you. Or if not, up to you if you want to kind of jump in and really get amongst it. Resources is similar. We can kind of upload site-specific documentation here. So some people put on maps, some people might put their SSSP in this section if it's just more viewable, and other kind of resources that are more site-specific for the team to access. Lastly, you have your visitor register. This is that QR code that you can scan or print off, and then put up onto your site. And then any visitors can kind of scan it and then be checked in for the day so that we have a log of those people that are coming onto site that might not necessarily be logging in and actually filling out forms. Perfect. So I'm going to save all of that data now. We've got all of our lists ready to go. We've kind of got that job prepped and ready to go. We've got all the pinned forms and has a board nicely set up now. So that is your general idea of your setting up of the sites. Now, say I'm finished with my bungalow renovation. Words are hard, it's okay. So to the right, I can bin it because it's done. So I'm going to archive that site. I'll save that. It'll remove it from my list and the list for the team to choose from. But say I might go back to that job and I need to bring it back out. I can click on Include Archived, and it's going to bring out my bungalow, and I can now have it available for the team again and for me to keep editing on. Perfect. All right, next up, we've got our equipment. So this is that list of your kind of asset register. There are quite a few cool things we can do with this. Obviously, we input the list. There is a way to bulk upload if you need to as well. Obviously, in the beginning, you'll have possibly an Excel spreadsheet that you want to just dump into the account. So feel free to use that CSV template we've got, and it can be all inputted all in one go. And then once you've got that in, you can then go and add them individually afterwards. Perfect. Now, this register can do a few things. So it can pull through to certain answer types within different forms. The maintenance can be kind of updated, or that value can be updated. Same with your rucks. And then also we can just have like an equipment list select from option as well. So there's a few things with the forms that you can kind of link through to this equipment, which is really handy. When you have built it in, we can edit that. Change any details you need, adding that maintenance. If we do change the category, that kind of allows you to add like rucks and other options as well. And at the very bottom, you've got your resources. So this is really handy if you've got certain kind of specific qualifications or certifications that you need to add to that equipment that's specific to, and especially if you want to keep kind of certain expiry dates on that as well. That's really handy to upload as well. Cool. So that is the gist of your equipment. Jumping into suppliers, contractors, and contacts, you can, again, this is another one we can change the name of. So if you want to use it for a suppliers list, or if you just want to use a contractors list, you can keep them all in one place and upload all of their certs and permits to it as well. Or if you just want it as a contact list for the team to access, it does kind of work as an address book for a lot of people. So you get access to those mobile numbers and those contact details from the app if you need them. Perfect. Teams and users. Awesome. So this section here, in the beginning, I do recommend uploading all of your team, but I would recommend uploading them with this icon here, where it's got staff member without a login. The reason for this is so that you can load them all in and get that admin done, upload any certs and permits to them, maybe some first aid certificates as well. And then we can give them their access once you're ready to kind of roll out to the team properly, after we've done all that setup of forms and sites and all that kind of stuff first. Once they are ready, they'll kind of load in like this, looking with that little two-person icon. And now I'm ready to have Carla kind of go in and be a user. So I'm going to edit them. We're going to go up to this section here, and it allows me to add the user login by going email and password. And then they'll get that email to kind of prompt to change their password if they need to, and actually be able to log in. Cool. When they're in this stage, you can also upload their resources through this resources tab, and that's where we can add in those first aid certificates and qualifications. Perfect. All good. Okay. If you do have a bulk list as well, again, we have that bulk upload button that you can definitely load them in from the beginning with as well. Cool. That is generally the idea of your teams and users. Now I'm just going to quickly jump over into the app so we can kind of see how all this is flowing through and just what the general daily flow for the team will look like. So as you can see, Home screen is where I've kind of got things open to start off with. You can change these settings in My Business if you want to as well, so that it opens either to the home screen or to the to-do list first, based on kind of if you want that hazard board accessible, or if you want the to-do list to be the first thing they see, so they just go straight into forms. Have a think about your company and how you want it to flow, and then base it, all the settings on that. Cool. So first thing I want to do is make sure that the team are selecting the right location or site or project. So I'm going to go into my bungalow renovation, and I'm just going to check in for the day. So I'm all ready to go. This has now prompted me to open a form. This is another setting you can change. It can just check in and the team can go do their own thing, or we can have this form kind of open up straight away. So I'll just complete my first personal pre-start. So I've got all the right PPE. Yep, we're all good. Are all the hazards covered? Yep, I'm all good. I've checked the hazard board where I'm going to next. Am I trained in today's task? Yes, I hope so. And I'm feeling safe and well to start work? Yes. Now, as you can see, when I opened up or answered these buttons, I can see these little 2 buttons pop up next to it. So we've got that camera, which is really good for kind of risk assessment forms, or even near misses and things where you need to take evidence of anything or photo evidence of anything. So using that there is really handy. And also to the right, I've got this 3 little dot icon. If I click on that, we've got a note option or an action option. The note is just a general note that you can attach to that question, and it is really handy to kind of pull it through the report if you need to have that raised. But the action allows us to make a task for someone. So I could say in here, need a new hard hat. It's my favorite example. So say I've broken my hard hat, I've cracked it, I'm bull in the china shop. So I need to go and assign this task to someone. So I've got that there, I've gone and assigned it. It's dropped down my list of people who I need to assign this to. I'll do it to myself so you can see what it looks like. And then I'm going to put a due date on it. So this is just the general basic setup of it, but you can do a few other amazing things with it, especially as an admin, because you can kind of jump in, create a corrective action and kind of link through some ad hoc forms and resources, which are really handy. Most of your team will generally set up this way. I'll save this off. And now it's kind of attached itself to that question that's relation to PPE. Now, I might not want to do it in relation to the PPE question specifically. I might just want to make a corrective action in general. So what I'll do is go into this blue notes down the bottom left. We can either add a note again, or we can do a corrective action as well. Really handy just to kind of link it to the form in general. Cool. So that's all completed. I'm ready to go, and we can click Save Final now that all of those required fields have been filled out and completed. So that's all done for the day. Now I might want to go quickly check the hazard board, so I can see here those ones that we added over in the admin console on that site, that bungalow site. So I can scroll through. If I need to add more PPE, I can jump into that one. Say we actually need to have headphones as well. Save that. Cool. Going down the very bottom, you can kind of read and understand it if there's any you haven't. So I can see bees and wasps is a new one I haven't looked at because it's got that red dot. So I'll go read and understood, and then my user now has acknowledged that that is a new hazard. Say I find something else additional that maybe the admin hasn't added in before the project or job. So I will go to the top right and add a new blank one, and it just gives me that similar template to what the admin had to kind of add in any information I need to. Cool. Once you upload that as well, it'll obviously then tell everyone else on the dashboard, on the home screen, sorry, with a little kind of icon similar to how my to-do list has here, to say there's something new on the hazard board you need to look at. Perfect. A few other buttons. You've obviously got your induction button. I've done mine for this site, which is awesome. But when you haven't done it, it will show up in red as well. So I'll jump into that button when I have a new site and kind of finish it. And same with the report incident button. We do have a form that links through to here as well. Perfect. Jumping into my to-do list, I can see now that I've got my personal pre-start done because I did that with my check-in. If the team has maybe a pre-start, we can do that all together as well. Same with all our other forms. And you can also see that my corrective action is now showing up as well. So say I've gone and completed that, I can jump into here, change my status of it to done, and then we can complete that and it should kind of remove itself from the list. Awesome. I might want to jump into my pinned forms and see what's been happening there. There might be some new stuff on our risk assessment form or whatever kind of collaborative form you've got jumping into that pinned section. And then say maybe something else goes wrong or I need to go and find my other forms. We jump into that ad hoc list and we can find all those other ones there. Perfect. So that's the general idea of where the team will go to kind of fill out their forms. But we can also do a few other things. So jumping into the top little 3 lines, I call it the hamburger sign. We can open that up and it's got our menu. So this now will allow the team to kind of go and find a few other things like site information. If they jump into site projects or jobs, they can find that kind of contact list if they need to get the suppliers or just contacts. They can see their saved forms that they've completed. And if you've got certain levels of access or the user roles, they can see other people's forms as well. And there's a few other things like actions and all those kinds of things they can jump into, but the main focus is that they kind of know where to go to see their saved forms and if they need to see any kind of documentation or like resources. Perfect. So that is the general idea of the app, and now I can just check out. I'm all done for the day and we're good to go. Cool. Now jumping into the admin console to the left, a few those few settings that you can kind of change are just going to be found in my business and in the settings section here. So this is where we've got our user groups. We can kind of change those names from sites, projects, job settings, and also kind of our check-in and out options and that mobile homepage if you want to kind of change those settings around. Other than that, that is pretty much the gist of the system. You obviously have your reports tab as well, which you can jump into. I don't want to go into too much detail with that right now because obviously we're just doing that setup side of things. We will do some more webinars that dive a bit deeper into the reports tab. But generally what you can do here with the reports is jump in, pull out all of that gathered data once the team have gone into the app and actually started moving and grooving in there. But yeah, so that will be something you can look forward to in some other webinars, but that's also available to explore for now. Perfect. All right, let's jump into our Q&A. So feel free to jump onto that Q&A button down the bottom and we can definitely go in and get your questions moving and grooving. So let me know what the thoughts are. Cool. Awesome questions from Ben and Jonathan. Thank you for that. Handy dandy Q&A partners helping me out with answering some things. Everyone seems to be pretty happy. Everything's kind of answered. Great. That's good to know. Lee, awesome. Cool. Feel free to just chuck it in the Q&A chat, Lee. Wait for a moment to let him go for it. I always get stressed typing things out. Oh, awesome. Okay. Yes, so I'm just going to answer Lee first. He's asked, can you upload forms to pinned forms? So as we explained in the sites setup or in that project job section, that tab there, when you open up your site, you can then go and upload it by clicking on the pinned forms kind of tab and then just picking which one you want to upload. So we've got to obviously build it and make sure it's all set up design-wise in the forms tab first, and then we can go into our jobs, sites or projects tab and pin it to the site it's specific to. Cool. Jackie. Yeah, I know it is a bit to process sometimes, but that's all good. Tried some things. Yeah, a lot of people generally jump in, have a bit of a play, and then all your questions will come flowing through. So let us know, and I will give you some resources at the end of the session as well to kind of guide those questions in the right place. We do also have some really great resources online, like our beautiful video education center. So jumping into that will be really helpful to kind of get those questions answered, hopefully as well. And we have some more webinars that can hopefully answer your questions too, Jackie. Fiona. Is it possible to see an example of what it looks like when someone receives a message that they have been allocated, when they've been allocated a corrective action? So within the app, I'll just quickly jump over to that. In the top left, there is the actions tab here. And this allows you to kind of see mine, active ones, overdue as well. So we can kind of see other people's as well as your own. So this is where you would kind of go to kind of see that through the app. But then in the admin console and the dashboard, you do have your corrective actions section down the bottom. You can move these tiles around as well and edit them if you need to, but this here is kind of that list. And if I just click on this square icon, you can see that list of all of them available. So that's really helpful if you want to change statuses and stuff like that for all of those corrective actions. Great question. Thank you so much. All right. Michael, thanks. I'm going to try and change some of my forms to suit our business better. Perfect. No, that's definitely what we advise, to jump into the account and really kind of edit them. And Michelle, sorry. Edit them and make sure that they're all perfect to suit you best. Lee, can all people see user certificates? So the certs and permits that are kind of assigned to users have a bit more of a restriction on them in regards to what can be seen within the app. So when they do jump across over here and they go into specific users, they can kind of see their certs and permits individually, but it also depends on your user role and what kind of access you've got. So tablet managers can see a bit more, whereas the field workers can kind of see a limited view of certain certs and permits. Awesome. Fiona's back again. I've noticed all the data fields are in US format. Can this be changed? Yep, so it depends on your browser. So if your browser has got like a certain date, like what's the word? If you're in a certain time zone, all those kind of formats can change. So just making sure that you've got the correct time zone set to your browser to suit your kind of date ranges that you want to be seeing. Cool. Kate, form design, can all admin staff change it, or does this need to be authorized by the main administrator? I don't have the option to use the form design. Okay, so you might be set up as a manager role, which allows you to have access to the admin console, but it doesn't let you kind of control certain things within the admin console. So we might need to give you that admin user role, which is kind of set by the administrator. And that's the kind of level of authorization that happens. But once you're an admin, you have full control to kind of change anything within the system. Perfect. Awesome. I can see Fiona's typing away again. Oh. All right. Are there any other questions coming through? I'll wait a little bit longer because I can see some being typed. I noticed when I uploaded set that it's alphabet. Yep, okay, to a degree. But when I wasn't consistent, it was in lowercase. Okay, wait 1 second. I need to reread this one. Okay. So Jackie, is that in regards to kind of the setting up of different, like say you've got a site and you load it in, and then you want it to go in alphabetical order here. If we do want it to show in an alphabetical kind of order, we can click on the name, for example, and it will go into a specific order based on whether it's going A to Z or Z to A. So that is kind of how you can set it to look that way. Hopefully that answers your question. But yeah, obviously add in all your information and use these columns to kind of make sure it shows up in the correct orders that you need. Cool. Okay. It was uploading forms. Okay, so must be when you were creating your forms here. So again, with that, we can click on name and that'll put it into the right orders that we want to see in the alphabetical way. Cool. Okay, it shouldn't be based on lowercase or case sensitivity either. It should be based on just the alphabetical order. So hopefully that helps in regards to ordering it. I do just tend to kind of base it on the scheduled ones when I click into it, so I can see all those scheduled ones and at the top. That's why it kind of is out of order in regards to the alphabet. Cool. I'll give a few more moments for a few questions to come through again. Awesome. All right. So thank you for everyone's kind of questions that have come through. Oh, actually, I've got some more. Okay, so I am doing my webinars, or this webinar is kind of about getting started and just the initial setup on a weekly basis. So every single Thursday, 9 a.m. in New Zealand time. So yeah, definitely jump in if you do want that refresher on a weekly basis, or if you've got anyone else, especially in your company, that you might want to jump on board with SiteApp Pro and then have them familiar with how the setup of the account is, so then they can know what you might have done with your account. Or even if you just want to have a a refresh of things as well. And then we'll also be doing kind of more topic-based webinars that dive into certain like reports or into engagement or into kind of form mastering if we want to kind of see that information on a more monthly basis. So we'll do kind of one a month. It'll probably start from next month and then be flowing on from there. Amazing. Cool. I'd love to see you. If you want to come every single week, then definitely go for it. The way to register is just back into that. So when you registered through this one initially, there are other dates you can select as well. So just jump back onto that same registration link. We also have the link in our video education center. So jump onto our website, find that video education center through our resources tab. And then within that, you can get a registration link and kind of choose which ones you want to jump into. Can we watch a recording of this one? Sure. I am recording this, so I'll definitely be uploading it through to that video education center as well. So it'll be up there. I do have a pre-recorded one as well. You can jump into already there. But yeah, we'll be updating it over time as well. Cool. Thanks for that one, Kate. It's a good question. Awesome. All right. So from here, I just want to quickly explain a few kind of resources that we have available. Obviously, we have an amazing support team that is available to reach out to when you do have kind of general questions come through or any kind of issues with the account. So feel free to reach out to this email address here, support@siteappro.com. It is available for you guys and we'll get back as soon or as quick as we can. And then also we have, like I was explaining earlier, our video education center. So follow this link here and then you can definitely kind of jump in, get all those beautiful instructions and different deeper dives and all that kind of stuff. And that's where you can find my webinar links as well. So super handy, jump in there. We do also kind of have a knowledge base as well, which you can jump into from our website. And that kind of goes in on certain features and like different things and articles that you might want to kind of explore a bit further. So if you're a bit of a nerd like me and you really like to hone in on everything and really find out stuff, jump in there and go for your life. Awesome. So thank you so much for joining me today, guys. It's been very, very exciting. And I hopefully maybe we'll see some of you again next week or the weeks after, if you just can't get enough of me. But yes, very exciting. And thank you for joining me for our very first one.